So there's not long to wait until Euro 2020, or I guess 2021. But it starts soon, and to continue on the trend currently on the channel where we're trying to simulate different variations of the European Championships, today's video is all about what if teams could only enter the European Championships if they'd never won it before. So I went to go and find out which countries had won the European Championship since it first started in 1960, and it turns out there's not that many different individual winners. So I thought, okay, let's extend it to every team that's ever reached the final. But again, there weren't that many teams that have reached the final and lost it and stuff like that. So I decided to expand it to every team that's ever made the semi-finals, and this gives us a very interesting pool of teams. So as you can see right now, this is the full history of the European Championships of every team that's got to the finals and the semi-finals, who's won it, runners up, third, fourth place, whatever. The whole thing is there, as you can see. There's some pretty interesting results on there. There are a couple of exceptions to this, however. All of the countries that made up the Soviet Union, I kind of felt it was a little bit unfair to ban all of them. So they're not banned, those countries, although Russia did actually come in the semi-finals one time. So Russia's banned, but other places like Ukraine are not banned, for example. I've also done this for Yugoslavia as well, on the grounds that Yugoslavia was one united country. Now there's lots of different countries, and if I got rid of all of them, it would actually be a very weird tournament, a lot of decent nations missing out on this one. So I decided to include all of the nations from Yugoslavia, again because it's not a country anymore. And so, as you can see, the top 24 countries in Europe that have qualified are now in-game in Football Manager 2021 in the European Championships. I seeded all of the teams based on their current European rank. So it means that my number one seed for the tournament is Switzerland, given they've never come in the semi-finals or finals of the European Championships before. What that means is they are the first seed in Group A. The next best team that haven't been in the semi-finals or finals of the championships before was Poland, so they're the first seed in Group B, and it goes so on and so forth, just like that, until we get to Azerbaijan, who are the 24th highest ranked team in UEFA that haven't been to a European Championships or finals before. So they become the final seed in Group F. So now all that's left to do is to simulate this tournament and see which team is going to come out on top. Before we get into that though, my analytics suggest that 54% of you guys who watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel, and we can't be having that. We cannot be having that. So would massively appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to the channel down below and bing that notification bell to get notifications whenever I upload a video. And whilst you're down there, make sure you do drop a like on today's video and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. So let's jump into the groups first and foremost to see what's going on in each group. And as you can see, Group A has got Bulgaria, Slovenia, Switzerland and Ukraine, which is a really interesting group. Now, we're only going to talk about the top two teams going through. Obviously, 3 teams go through from 4 groups because of a weird way that the European Championships works, but we can't predict who's going to come third and get through. So I'm going to talk about the top 2 teams in each group. And I think in this one, Switzerland have to go through. They are the top seeded team in the competition. But I think Ukraine will also go through ahead of Bulgaria and Slovenia. Into Group B, we've got Finland, Ireland, Poland and Serbia. And for me, I think Poland and Serbia are probably going to be too strong for Finland and Ireland, unfortunately, for those nations. Group C is made up of Albania, Bosnia, Cyprus and Iceland. So some former Yugoslav nations in there. I would imagine it's a bit of a group of death. I mean, maybe not Cyprus, but Iceland, Bosnia and Albania are all pretty decent footballing nations. I might put Iceland through, and I might go for Albania too, but it could easily be Bosnia. I'm not quite sure how to predict Group C. Group D is a little bit easier. We've got Croatia, Estonia, Northern Ireland and Norway, and I think the Norway side with Haaland and Odegaard in there should be doing enough to at least get second in the group. I imagine Croatia, who have got a very good team, are probably one of the favourites to win the whole European Championships, even in real life, let alone in this simulation. So Croatia, for me, I think will do pretty well in all of this. Group E, on the other hand, is a bit of a weird group, I'd say. Austria, Lithuania, Montenegro and Romania. There's no real big hitters in this group, which might be a bit harsh on Austria, but Austria should win this group, I think, comfortably, probably with Montenegro coming as runners-up. And then finally, into Group F, we have got Scotland, Israel, Azerbaijan and Slovakia, and for me, it should be Scotland and Israel going through from this group. So there we go, we have seen the groups. Let's go and simulate the group stage and see if my predictions were correct. So obviously with the European Championships coming up this summer, at the same time the Copa America is also on. So there's an awful lot of football to keep up with over this summer, and you're going to need an app to keep up to date with all of the scores. And that's where the sponsors of today's video, the One Football app, come into it. They are the best football app out there to keep up to date with all of the latest news, scores and updates from around the world, and they've got a really good coverage of both the European Championships and the Copa America. I'm going to use it all summer to keep up to date with all of the fixtures, and I recommend you do too as well. It's the best app out there. I use it all the time, and you get notifications and updates straight through to your phone quicker than any other football app out there. So I would massively appreciate if you guys could download the app for absolutely free from the top line of the description, as it massively helps me and the channel out. Right, so we're back after the group stages have been played, and we'll start off obviously with Group A. Switzerland were the favourites in my opinion, but they've only come second in the group. As you can see, Ukraine beating them to the top spot, and Slovenia being one of the best losers in the competition. They're one of the 4 teams that go through from third place in those 6 groups. So Slovenia doing very well to get through. Bulgaria unfortunately finished bottom of the group on 1 single point. Into Group B, and surprisingly for me, Ireland have managed to outplay Serbia, who are very lucky to qualify third in their group. Poland, the best team in there, Ireland picking up 6 points, and then Serbia only on 3, which is a little interesting. I thought they'd do a little bit better than that. Heading into Group C, I've been let down by Albania. I was backing them, to be fair. I wasn't quite sure with them or Bosnia going through, but Bosnia seemed to have smashed everyone there alongside Iceland, whereas Albania and Cyprus haven't had the best tournaments whatsoever. They're both going home for an early exit. Into Group D, and as expected, I guess, Croatia won every single game. Looks like they're the only team to actually win every single game in the group stage out of the entire tournament. Norway currently sitting second. Obviously, Erling Haaland couldn't score enough goals against Croatia to make sure they get top of the group, with Estonia also qualifying from third in their group, but poor old Northern Ireland not doing particularly well. Into Group E, and I have been surprised by this one. Romania top the group. I did not expect that one to be happening. They're also joined by Austria, who are second in the group by virtue of goal difference by looks of things, whereas Montenegro and Lithuania finish on just a single point, which means that 3 teams must be going through from Group F, and as you can see, it's actually Slovakia who top the group. I was not expecting that at all, so well done Slovakia. Scotland coming in second, as you can see, with Israel into third place, Azerbaijan finishing bottom on 0 points. A quick little look at the top stats after the group stage. Erling Haaland is top with 6 goals, but is closely followed by Ollie McBurney of Scotland, so well done to him. Edin Dzeko still playing football. I forgot about him, to be fair, but he's 35 years old now, scoring 3 for Bosnia. Rebic up there as well, but Lewandowski potentially not scoring as many as he should do with only 3 goals. In terms of assists, it's all pretty tight. There's a few players on 3 there, but interestingly, no Odegaard in there. Always thought he'd be right up there. Modric only with 2 as well, so this should change pretty quickly, I think, as the tournament goes on. So as we head into the first knockout round, well, it looks like it was a pretty interesting first knockout round. Switzerland were drawn against Iceland, 2 teams I'd say are probably right up there to be favourites for at least a semi-final. They've met in the first knockout round, and Switzerland take it on extra time, so Iceland sent packing home early. Another extra time game was needed between Serbia and Ukraine, which Ukraine ended up winning 1-0. Congratulations, Ukraine. No need for extra time in the other games, though. We've had some really high-scoring games here. Croatia beat Israel 4-1. Slovakia beat Estonia 4-0. Ireland come out ahead of Romania 4-3. Poland beat Slovenia 6-2. Norway beat Scotland 1-0. That's a bit of a boring game, and poor Scotland being knocked out in the first knockout round. And then Austria beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 3-0. Some really high-scoring games in that one. 32 goals scored across all of these games, which is pretty mental, to be fair. That seems to be a lot. That could be a record, you know. I'd love to go and see what the records are. There's probably no easy way to find out, is there? But that feels like it's a record. What that does is set up a quarter-final of Poland, Slovakia, Ireland, Croatia, Switzerland, Ukraine, and Norway, Austria. For me, I see Poland, Croatia, Switzerland, and Norway going through from this one. And I tell you what, I was very wrong, actually. Very wrong. Poland and Slovakia played out a 3-3 draw, which Slovakia ended up winning on penalties. Croatia had to go to extra time against Ireland, so Ireland played very well for 90 minutes, but Croatia too strong in extra time. I did say Switzerland were going to beat Ukraine in normal time, and they did, so I've got that one. I mean, I got Croatia right, but thought they'd batter Ireland, to be fair. Switzerland beats Ukraine 2-0, whereas Austria beat Norway 4-2, which surprises me. So Erling Haaland is not going to get, well, he might still get top scorer, you never know, but he's not going to win a European Championships. Poor Norway. What that means is the semi-finals are Slovakia, Croatia, Austria, Switzerland. For me, it's got to be a Croatia and Switzerland final. That's how I see it panning out. But will I be correct? Oh, I wasn't correct. I mean, I was half correct. Croatia beat Slovakia 2-1, but Austria have beaten top seeds in the tournament, Switzerland, on penalties. Now that is an interesting result. Congratulations to Austria for knocking out Switzerland, who I thought would do very, in real life, should do very, very well this summer. But they've done very well in game to get to the semi-finals, but just not as much as you thought they'd do for the top seeded team in the competition. So that sets up a Croatia versus Austria final. So here we can see Austria versus Croatia. This is quite exciting. Let's go on holiday for one day. Let's go and see who's won. Well, I can now exclusively reveal that Austria won the game 2-1, as you can see. Congratulations to the Austrians in an amazing tournament. I thought they'd do well. Didn't think they'd go on to win the whole thing. For me, it was either going to be Croatia or Switzerland, but as you can see, Croatia crumbling in the final. What happened in that final? They scored first, actually. Perisic got the goal early on before Austria scored in the 34th minute and then won the game with a David Alaba penalty, which is really interesting. Wow. Sabitzer on a 7.6 rating for Austria as well. He must be man of the match. I know Stefan Posch at centre-back for Austria got man of the match, as you can see. Brozovic and Perisic played very well for Croatia, but just wasn't enough for them to get over the line and win the championships. So let's go and see some of the award winners from this European Championships. Erling Haaland ends up winning the Golden Ball with 8 goals, despite only playing 5 games and getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. Very impressive for him. Robert Lewandowski and Ivan Perisic come joint second with the 6 goals that they scored as well. But Lewandowski ahead of him because he did it in 5 games compared to Perisic's 7 games. And Ollie McBurney comes in 4th, or joint 4th with quite a few different people. But he gets there with his 4 goals in 4 games. So very impressive. There is a draw for the top assister in the European Championships. Although Benes actually does win it, I guess, because he got 4 assists in 4 games compared to Hamsic's 4 assists in 6 games. There's also a draw in the most clean sheets. 4 players ended up on 3 clean sheets, but the Ukrainian keeper Pyatov ends up winning it because he got 3 clean sheets in 5 games compared to the 6 and 7 games that the other players got those 3 clean sheets in. You can see how good Luka Modric is there as he absolutely smashes the most key passes stat there with 33 key passes, 11 more than Sabitzer in second, and everyone else just gets blown out of the water completely. But it is Robert Lewandowski who gets the highest average rating with an 8.2 across the tournament, Haaland with an 8.04 across the tournament, and Dennis Mann with an 8 across the tournament. Although, saying that, they did it in 5 and 4 games, to be fair. That's still pretty impressive. That's a lot of games to stay consistently really, really good and above an 8 at. Ollie McBurney got a 7.7 rating across his 4 games. Any Scottish fans out there will be hoping he can do that in real life this summer. But I think that's where we're going to finish off today's video. So congratulations if you're an Austria fan. You've got a chance of winning it potentially in real life if no one else any good enters the tournament. Let me know down in the comments section below if there's any more other stipulations and different variations of a tournament you want me to do. I'm also still trying to get to 1,000 simulations of the actual European Championships. You guys can help me out with that one. There's links down in the description to go to a spreadsheet, download a spreadsheet, click the top right button on the screen when you click on the link to download it, and then there's instructions on that spreadsheet for you guys to simulate yourself some of the European Championships, and we can add it all to a master spreadsheet to get to 1,000 simulations. But other than that, thank you very much for watching today. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you do drop a like on the video for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Leave a comment down below for the YouTube algorithm, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Goodbye.